Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Tabor Smith on behalf of Genesis Chiropractic Software. We have an amazing webinar for you set up today. Our guest is Dr. Fred DiDomenico of Elite Coaching. He is a corrective chiropractic coach, and he's an amazing guy. I am privileged and honored to have got to spend time with him, been to his boot camps and his seminars, and they are absolutely just the best in the profession, top notch. So, Dr. Fred, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Hey, that's why I hang out with you, man. I need to spend more time with you with those compliments.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not the only one that has those compliments for you. So, but thank you for being here today. We're going to talk about creating value for your patients beyond insurance, and I know that's a huge topic for chiropractors everywhere. And Dr. Fred, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you start in on that. I know this is a topic that you're just one of the best at.
Thanks, brother. You know, the world is changing. You know, the profession isn't the same, and more importantly, the world is different. I mean, the world changes almost in seconds these days. And, you know, obviously insurance is getting worse. Everybody knows this. And people have to pay out of pocket these days. And the thing is, the American public and people all around the world, they want to be healthy, and we need to show them why. So it's obvious after 118 years, we have 3.4% of the population under chiropractic care that something's missing. You know, I saw Guy Reekman, president of Life College, sent out a video a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the tipping point being 18%. Well, 3.4% is pretty far. And if that's what 118 years of patient education has brought us, then maybe we need to take a little bit different approach. We are definitely in a new world, and maybe it needs a new model. Number one, my personal opinion is we need to move towards spinal corrective care. You know, the principle of chiropractic is truth, and we need to fix subluxations, number one, so we need to be congruent. Number two, we obviously haven't done a great job at shifting the minds of the general public as to what chiropractic care actually is. So when you look at how do successful businesses communicate? You know, when I practiced, I guess I'm going on here for a little bit, you know, I found the principle of chiropractic as a spiritually grounded, rooted person. I feel like, hey, is that a life calling? Do you believe that chiropractic is a life calling? And if you do, then that means if you also believe in universal intelligence and innate intelligence, then you believe the universe has intention and it placed that person, i.e. your patient, new patient or existing patient, in front of you for a reason. So as a spiritual being, that person came to you seeking something that wants them to be greater. And I completely believe that. Is that a belief of you, whoever's listening? You know, I know, Tabor, that's your belief, man. They came to you because they want to be better in their life, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And the more that I can tune into that and believe that, or at least be conscious about that, I think the better I am in front of that person as well.
Well, and so many people think, man, building my practice is about marketing, get more people, more people, more people. But in your communication, you know, I get calls from doctors all around the country, and the average person out there has about a 30 to 50% commitment. So when you look at that, then what happened to the 70 to 50%? Do they still walk out thinking chiropractic is about back pain? Do they walk out saying, what does my insurance cover? What's the value that they have for chiropractic, their body, and the principle when they walk out? And I know when they walk out, I don't care if you see 1,000 a week. You know, whatever your number is, that's not the point. The point is you could see 300 people that day or 10 people that day, and it's the one person that walks out that torments you. And the problem is not even that they walk out, but you didn't know how to reach them.
Right.
And if you're a spiritual being believing that universal innate intelligence have intention, and that person was seeking something greater, what happened? Well, the problem was I found a bunch of management groups through 15 years of practice, 4 management groups that taught me how to talk about a subluxation. I could describe an x-ray, live by the principle, describe the principle, but in reality, would you give a script or describe, if you described an x-ray and a subluxation pattern, even describe the principle, would you talk to a CEO the same way you talk to a stay-at-home mother at 4 or a fibromyalgia patient? They have two totally different emotional tones.
Right.
Do you know how to talk to different people? So the challenge is that I saw in practice was that everybody knows the 80-20 rule. 20% of influence, whether or not someone actually follows your recommendations, is based on facts. 80% is based on psychology and physiology. In other words, you got to change the way someone feels to change the way they think. That's a Tony Robbins quote there from Business Mastery.
Nice.
So obviously the profession has been 118 years describing a subluxation. And if you're all fired up about it, what they're doing is they're buying your personality and your passion, which develops a personality-driven practice. But what happens to those people that don't care about your personality? What if you don't establish rapport based on a personality basis? Then a subluxated person walks out of your office. And what percentage of people walking into your office deserve to live an unsubluxated life?
Right. 100%.
100%. So, the power of your life is determined by the power of the questions you ask yourself. And the question I asked myself was, how do I reach those people that I don't innately connect with? Right? So I spent almost 20 years getting professional communication training, being a life coach, studying NLP, finding 5 different systems applied to spinal correction that can help you reach the 80%. Now, and this is a great pre-frame, hey, you got about 16% of the population are innovators. You could trip over yourself and get those people because they just love anything new. If you say, hey, this is new and the greatest, they're going to buy it. That's 16%. Those are the people that camp out for 2 days. They're going to camp out for a week when iPhone 8 comes out, right?
Right.
They'll do anything. Now, the early majority is the next 34%. You can describe an x-ray and get a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Okay? You can even stumble over yourself. Now, the questions they ask are more how questions. What does my insurance cover is going to be, well, how am I going to pay for this? Or, let me get a second opinion. And they're going to go to your workshop and they're going to do all that. Now, the late majority, so 16 plus 34, there's 50%. Hey, if you describe an x-ray, you can get 30 to 50%.
Right.
Right? If you're passionate about what you do, you can get 30, 50%. The late majority is the next 34%. You know what they do? They give you objection after objection after objection. Those are the people that say, hey man, I'm going to wait until when that iPhone 8 comes out, I'm going to wait 6 or 8 months because I know it's going to be a third of the price in 8 months. So I'm not going to buy today. That's ridiculous. How do I know that new technology is going to work? If you give new technology to a late majority person, that is going to be their objection.
Right.
So if one person is an innovator, you say, well, that person committed because I told them this is the latest and greatest. The next person comes in, the late majority, you say latest and greatest. That's why they won't commit.
Right.
Yep. You know how to differentiate different types of personalities.
Now, how much of it, so when you talk about objections, how much of it is learning, what each objection is and then trying to create an answer or a reply to that objection, and then how much of it, or maybe all of it, is just really learning that person's personality, and you may have to reply differently depending on who that person is?
Well, this is my opinion after years and years and years of professional communication training. Not that that gives any credibility, but with top-level world-class communication coaches, what you learn is the worst thing you can do is have scripted responses for objections, because a person could say, what does my insurance cover? And it could be they want to know how they're going to pay. It could be, hey, I went to a chiropractor and he misbilled my insurance. It could be, hey, I changed insurance companies. It could be, the last chiropractor promised me something and he didn't deliver.
Right.
So there could be an almost unlimited amount of reasons why. So rather than respond to the words,
Mm.
what I teach you is how to respond to the person that said the words. In other words, when you find out why they said those words, that's the objection. And one thing, this is a life coaching principle, you have to know the thought behind the thought. The
Right.
thought is what they say. The thought behind the thought is why they said what they said. That's what their objection is.
Right. Yep.
And so
Right.
you almost have to know how to read their mind, read their intention, read their body, read all these things, because a scripted response is not going to handle every objection.
Right. So let me ask you another question. So, because my goal in practice really, I want to make a lot of money, right? But that's not my goal. I seriously want to provide value to people. I want them to. I don't want them, even if they have money. I don't want them in my office unless they see a huge value of being here and unless I improve their life somehow. So you're saying that communication in itself and how I talk to that person is how I should best show them the value of being in my office, right?
Well, and that, yes, that how do you create value? Well, and this is the difference between describing an x-ray is making statements when really, and this is one thing I learned from Roberto Monaco, who trains in communication and presentations, great guy, great one-liner I recently got from him, is the most powerful type of persuasion is self-persuasion. So it's not, and one thing we say in Elite, it's not what you say what matters, it's what they say that matters.
Right.
So when a person persuades themselves, then they actually change the way they think. So in other words, another mantra we have in Elite is you can't make anybody do anything. And if anybody's married, from your spouse, you can't make them do anything. I mean, you could
Amen
probably
to that, brother.
yeah, yeah, no kidding. You can't make them. You can't make your spouse do anything. But when you learn how to make it their idea, then they want to do it. And being recently engaged and going to be married, the more powerful of a woman or a spouse that you have, the more you absolutely have to make it their idea, or it absolutely is not happening. You will get
Yes.
nothing that you want until you
Yes.
make it their idea.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, by the way, congratulations on your engagement. After I got back from your first boot camp, I felt like I was like, like a Yoda in my marriage, like taking advantage of her because I was actually like using my powers that I learned from your boot camp to get what I want in my marriage.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And going with all the people that go through the boot camps and elite clients, it's a life coaching system. So you become so self-empowered in your communication that hey, there's lots of people that have become millionaires and all that. And you know what? People are making $1.5 million a year doing whatever, and they say, what the most valuable thing is? Their marriage is easier.
Yeah.
Their relationship with their kids and how they influence their kids to do the right thing is so much better. It's like, oh my God, man, you stop pushing the boulder uphill and you learn how to inspire people to want to be their best. So, it's just so much easier. You don't have to convince, and that was one thing. I got tired of selling freaking chiropractic, man. To me, it's the worst insult. You can change someone's life. Corrected chiropractic is God's greatest gift to humanity, in my opinion. And the last thing we should be doing is trying to convince someone to do what's great for them. So what I
Right.
did was apply life coaching and help people say, you know what, this is the life I want to live. And Doc, I want to do your program. They should be asking us.
Yeah. Yep.
So all I did was say, how do I get a person to ask us?
Right.
And then I went out and said, okay, where do I have to go? Because I went to a Tony Robbins, one of my Tony Robbins seminar, Unleash Power Within. Great seminar. I always recommended. Tony is an amazing person. I don't know him personally, but you got 5,000 people in the audience, and at a break, you got at least 40% of that audience going up to the table, spending $10,000 on the next Anthony Robbins seminar.
Right.
You got subluxated people spending $10,000. Why? because he gives you an avenue to make your life better. So if you look at the most successful people in the world, a guy that has a business, probably $1 billion business, and what he's doing is helping people get past their limiting beliefs, what I see is chiropractic.
Yeah.
So if you have a guy that is a world-class leader for millions of people at $10,000 a pop, what's he doing? Life coaching and NLP. All I did was study life coaching and NLP over the last 10 years and applied spinal correction. Well, and everybody knows this is the principle of success. Model somebody that's doing what you want to do.
Right.
Well, there's lots of great chiropractic leaders, but 3.4%, man, at some point we have to ask a different question, okay? So the question is, what are other great leaders doing? When I found what they were doing, and he created the whole life coaching profession, and as a life coach, I had people paying me hundreds and thousands of dollars getting past their limiting beliefs. So, hey, I just applied spinal correction.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the one thing that, the reason why this webinar right here, this topic we're talking about is like probably the single most beneficial topic that we could do for chiropractors is because, and here's what gets me, every person that comes in my office, obviously they came in for a reason. I've never had somebody just knock on my door and come in and say, I don't know why I'm here, I'm here for no reason at all, right? So they're here for a reason, and then obviously they don't think that my solution is going to be free. I mean, we would never go into a store and we would try to buy something and say, oh, I thought it was free, So they're here for a reason. They know that it's going to cost money. So then why is it so hard for me to figure out what their reason is and show them that I can give them what they want and make that valuable to them? And why is that the hardest thing to do in a business?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what the key is. To answer your question is because chiropractic profession and most management groups teach us to talk about a subluxation.
Yeah.
Now, the people that have studied communication, say, okay, well, let's find what their value is. And that's really what it is. When you look at life coaching, it's finding their core values. So there are management groups out there that get that, but what they're doing, and what didn't resonate with me as a spinal corrective doctor, was they find their values on pain. So what is it that your back pain is preventing you from doing? Well, I can't pick up my kids, I can't play golf, can't do this. And so a person will sign up, but we all know in 3 adjustments, hey, you can pick up your kids, you can swing your golf club. And what they do is say, Doc, you're great, I'll come back again when my back hurts. Is that the principle of chiropractic? So the application of finding values and relating it to pain are very short-term and temporary. It's not a retention-based system. Now, in life coaching, what you realize is people buy with emotion and justify with fact. Everybody knows that. So what we do is when you focus on organs, in step 1, find their subluxation story. Now, if anybody has followed the webinars or YouTube videos, we know you've been exposed to our version of the subluxation story. It's a timeline of how long has a person been subluxated. Probably since childhood. Well, when they were 5, maybe they had allergies and sinus problems. But now they're 45, not only do they have back pain, but then they may have prostate problems, they may have had asthma, they may have had digestive problems, may have colitis. So how did they go from 2 problems into 18 health problems? That's a timeline.
Right.
So on an emotional basis, you have to show them they have suffered. They are suffering now, and they will continue to suffer. So you show that timeline of, hey, and reframing. In NLP, it's called reframing. So if you had sinus problems when you were a kid or allergies, and you say, hey, postural weakness and subluxations, the upper part of the neck, weaken your immune system. Well, I had allergies as a kid. So your immune system has never been strong. That's a reframe. And they go, I never thought of it like that. Well, of course you didn't, because no other chiropractor taught you, right? Reframe that, or your medical doctor didn't tell you. And then those allergies progressed into asthma as a teenager, progressed into digestive problems. You may have gotten headaches, and then you're on drugs, and then all of a sudden now you got hypoglycemia, you got colitis. There's a progression of disorders. Maybe you had a trauma in your 20s, you had a car accident, and ever since then, your metabolism has weakened. So when someone says, hey, postural weakness in your neck causes stress in the nerves and causes problems with fatigue, oh my God, I'm always so tired. Well, how long have you been tired? 5 years. As soon as someone says 5 years, what happened? What trauma happened 5 to 6 years ago? Well, you know what? I was in a car accident. So what you did was you injured your spine, you damaged your nervous system, and your metabolism has been weakening for the last 5 years.
Wow.
So
So,
right there, what's that?
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'm showing is you're showing that timeline. Everybody has a story. Now, when you relate that story to their core values, and you say, wow, so your immune system's never been strong. Now you're a mom with 3 kids. You traumatized your spine 5 years ago. And now your energy is so weak, you don't feel like a good mother. That's a value.
Right.
So what is it when you're showing them the x-ray, what does the corrected spine represent? How they feel as a mother, how a father feels as a provider for his family,
Right.
maybe his career. There's unlimited amount of values. You have to find their core values, and how their subluxated spine and posture is actually forcing them to not live within their values.
Mm.
Now, what they're buying is misery, right? I mean, that's what they're feeling is misery, because pain is a physical condition, suffering is an emotional condition.
Right.
So what you have to show people is they have suffered from being subluxated. They are suffering right now from being subluxated, and they're going to continue to suffer being subluxated. And that is why they're not living their life within their core values, and that's why they're not happy.
Wow. So this is good. So obviously, I know in order to get this stuff down, I mean, it takes people hours and hours to train with you, boot camps, seminars, even in their own practice. Every patient, they're basically just practicing this over and over. But for the viewers right now, to give them, like me, this afternoon, I have adjustments, I have new patients. Break it down into how does that person, how does that doctor start doing this? Obviously, it's ask them more questions about their injuries and go back in time. It's tie those into their core values. But what would you say would be the first step to help a doctor start doing this?
Okay, well, first of all, in our boot camp 1, we spend 4 hours on this one training.
Wow.
So yes, when you say it takes hours and hours, well, it does take hours, but it's like, if you want to learn how to swim, put on a bathing suit and jump in the lake.
Right.
Your instructor.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you will swim. So that's the experience of the boot camp. You come out in a matter of a few hours, man, you cut months into 3 hours.
Right.
So that's the difference. So step 1 is stop asking OPQRST on their pain. You address their pain. Now what you do is OPQRST can be answered on their forms.
Right.
And when you talk to a person, yes, you're going to address their pain, but you're going to focus on organ problems. So the first thing to do is know 3 to 4 organ problems for each organ. So when you say, Ms. Jones, postural weakness or subluxations in your mid-back, weak in the stomach and cause, you should know heartburn, indigestion, nausea, history of ulcers.
Right.
Talk about lungs, you should say subluxations or postural weakness in the upper back can cause problems in the lungs, asthma, bronchitis, recurrent cough, shortness of breath. So
Awesome.
You got to know 3 to 4 organ problems for the major organs. So that way you can start focusing on the organ problems.
Awesome.
And that way you will be amazed at the average person. You can pull 15 to 25 organ problems, health problems that are beyond, it's easy to pull 15 health problems that are beyond back pain.
Right.
I mean, it's not even including back pain and neck pain. I mean, you're talking, you guys get the drill. But
Absolutely.
if you don't ask, they never associate with it. And the problem is chiropractic, you don't ask about heartburn. Their heartburn ends up going away, and chiropractic never gets the credit.
Yeah.
Why? Because you didn't focus on their organs.
And I tell you what, that's been so valuable since I've started doing that in my office. Like, I mean, almost every person who comes in that I am effective in doing that with has an aha moment in the exam room, where all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, I that makes perfect sense, and I had no idea, you know?
Yeah, and you'll attest to this, Tabor, because you've been through the boot camps. How many times do people say, "I never knew that these problems were coming from my spine"? Do you
Yeah,
hear that?
absolutely. Yeah,
You hear
every time.
that consistently.
Yes.
Yeah, now that
So
is a major aha moment.
what's that?
And that's an epiphany for your
It
patient.
is. It is, and it's huge, and it makes a huge difference whenever you are taking them through your process, and when you finally do present X-rays and present their care plan, and that's why people who coach under you get better results.
Well, it's what it is because now they will pay for organ problems because people want to be healthy as a profession.
Yep.
In spite of the principle, there's a lot of great doctors with great intention, gang, but we got to go back to the facts. I mean, at some point, step one in any business is let's get real about the facts. And the
Right.
facts are 3.4%. Okay, those are the facts. We have great intention. I know there's a lot of doctors doing a great job. It doesn't 3.4% isn't lying. Let's say even it's boosted up to 5. My God, we're a long way away from the tipping point.
Right.
So I know we're on a time frame here. So once you show them, they have to feel the pain. They got to feel suffering. Step one. A person has to say, if they're going to change their life, they have to say, I don't want to be like this anymore. Now, how do you get a person that? Through the timeline of their subluxation story. Now, there's obviously other steps in the exam and pre-consultation, all that. The second major step is once they have emotional motion, meaning a person says, I don't want to be like this anymore, then they have to know where they're going. They have to know what they want. So before a person knows what they want, they got to know what they don't want first. That's their subluxation story. Then they have to know what they do want. So a great life coaching application that's so powerful is before you give the recommendations, we set 20 to 30-year health and life goals.
Right.
So if a person says, hey, I want to travel with my wife, I want to play with my grandkids, I want to do this, I want to do that, and they're so clear. Now we have a 7-step system. It's a life coaching system that helps people say, I am 1,000% sure this is the life I want. We're planning on it. We got a retirement account set up. Everything in our life with my wife or my husband is moving in this direction. Now all of a sudden they realize, man, my spine and health is getting weaker every day.
Yeah.
So how am I going to make it another 20 years to live this life? And the answer that they come to, not you, because you don't say, tell them, if you want this life, you're never going to be there. That's not self-persuasion.
No.
What you say is, Miss Jones, how committed? We're committed, we're committed, we're committed. You need to aim the highest level, and then you say, can you actually travel the world with your wife? Can you actually play with your grandkids? Can you actually do all this? If you allow and you point to their x-rays, your condition to progress, your spine to continue to collapse, and your health to weaken every day. And they look at you so solemnly and say, no, I can't. So you really can't have this life. And they say, no. Well, how committed are you to having this life? Man, I want to do everything. So then you go, rather than say, so you're going to have to do the program, then you say, so would you like to see what it's going to take for you to ensure that you can live this life that you've been planning for? That you work hard every day. Why do people bust their ass? I'm going to bust my ass for another 20 years so me and my wife can have this life. And then what happens? They friggin' have a heart attack.
Yep. Happens every day.
They're sick. They're disabled. Because what they didn't do is pay attention to their spine and posture.
Wow.
So,
Well, I'll tell you one thing about creating value is you definitely created value in this webinar and delivered value to us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, actually, before we close, there's people out there who want more information, Dr. Fred, on how they can maybe get coaching from you or go to your boot camps or your seminars. How can they do that?
well, first of all, I would say the boot camps are such a major transformation. People see massive growth. I mean, 20 to 50% within 90 days after they come back from the boot camp. I mean, you come back that first week and people respond differently. You're different when you come back. If that's a change that you would like to make, just go to elitecoachingllc.com. There's some information on the boot camps. And the best thing really is to talk to me. With the boot camps, we definitely coach you on communication as well. I want to make sure that you can reach your vision in chiropractic. You don't have to be an elite coaching client. It's not about that. This is professional communication training applied to spinal correction. So if
Right.
you'd like to raise your communication to another level, let's just chat on the phone. Let's see where you're at and what your vision is. And if that's congruent, then we can talk about it from then. But most importantly, we'd like to develop a relationship with people. So you can contact me personally at 253-851-8353. And let's just talk. Maybe it's congruent with you, maybe it isn't. And let's get to that 18%. That's the thing. I think it's about time that people understood what chiropractic really is. And I think we need, my opinion is we need to advance our communication. We need to do more than describe an x-ray. We need to do what the most successful people in the world are doing.
Right.
If we can apply that to chiropractic, then we can actually change the world with chiropractic. And that's why we do this.
There's no doubt that we have a huge value that we can give the world, but it's going to take communicators like Dr. Fred to help us to be able to show the world the value that we have in chiropractic. So first of all, Dr. Fred, thank you for all the value that you give us. Thank you for being on the call. Thank you out there in the audience for watching. And again, Dr. Fred's website is elitecoachingllc.com, and I'll try to have that posted below the video when we post this. All right. Thanks, Dr. Fred. Thank you all.
You.
Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.